When you usually think about resistance training, you probably associate functions with muscle growth, muscle hypertrophy, and so on. But have you ever associated resistance training with cognitive functioning? Well, me and my group want to put that to the test. So we did some research on the background, and we found out there wasn't much research to support positive or negative effects with cognitive functioning. So we want to put this theory to the test. Does resistance training have an effect on cognitive functioning? So for our experiment, we recruited 20 participants. We want our participants to be student athletes, and we had 10 female and 10 male. With our participant population, we divide up into groups. We had an experimental group and a control group. Now for our experimental group, we're going to have the participants come in one day, take our screening test, then go into the weight room and get their max lift on deadlift, bench, and squats. Then after that, they'll come back in 2 days. They'll take a pre-screening of the cognitive functioning test, and then they'll go do the resistance training, which will be 3 rounds of 10 reps at 80% of their max. Then after that, we'll go upstairs and take the cognitive functioning test again. Then for our control group, it's really simple with them. For the first day, they're coming in, doing a little survey, then taking the test and leaving. They come back the next day, 48 hours later to be specific, and they take the test again. Then they take a little 5-minute interval break, and they take the test afterwards. Then we'll be comparing our findings with a parasimple t-test and so on. But I'd like to answer some questions they might have. So the first question is, describe the cognitive test you use, and why did you choose this assessment? Is it validated, or is there other assessments you could have used? So we use our assessment, it's called the Powell series, which is an online psychology builder that is free to use. You can donate money to get benefits, but we just use the free version. So for our specific test, we use a Luck and Vogel test. It is a memory test. I did have to change some of the backgrounds around the shapes, because the background of the test is, it shows you patterns of shapes, then it'll show you another slide of the same patterns, but there might be different colors, and your job is to either say if it was the same color or different colors within the shapes. It is a very validated test. It's been used in very many experiments that I read on. Like I said, it's Powell series, so it's well known. We could have used different assessments, such as writing memory tests, but they weren't too validated, so we decided to go with the one that was a little bit longer. It's about 15 minutes for the average time taking, but it's very beneficial. Let's move on to the next question. Did you control or track other stressors that could have affected cognitive performance? How do you think these affected your results? We actually did. We asked how much sleep they had, what was their food intake before they did the experiment, and also if they had caffeine. We asked them prior to the second intervention if they have had any caffeine. We like for them to stay away from it. So we tried to control it. Yes, there's variation within that. They might have had caffeine, might have had tobacco, but we tried controlling for it. So I think for the best of our ability we did. If next question is, the dean students at a small college asked, if the head strength conditioning coach showed me your study, why should I be interested, regardless of your results? That's a great question. First off, our experiment does involve strength conditioning world because it does involve resistance training. You should be interested in this because we all know the well-known benefits of resistance training, hypertrophy of muscles, and so on. But also the ability to possibly increase memory or have an effect on it is can be very beneficial when you're trying to give information on resistance training and give it a little boost. It's just should be interesting if you're on resistance training coach, and it can allow you to get a little more background in the area and allow you to grow in your professionalism. Our last question is, if you did the study again, what would you change? First thing I would change would be the environment of the study. We here at Franklin have a very small weight room, so there's a lot of limitations in the weight room. There's participants in there, and they're sidetracked by music of other athletes in there and lifters, and as well as talking communication-wise. That was one of the biggest factors. So if we would do it again, we would have a control environment where it's just a participant, given without the funding, the fighter room to have the machinery moved. But that would be the ideal situation. If we would do it again, we would actually decrease the weight. 80% seemed a little taxing on the participants, so we would cut out the 80% weight and probably move down to around 70 or so to hopefully see some different results. And also we would change where we screen for the cognitive functioning test, which was a very noisy environment. Thank you very much for your time, and have a wonderful day, guys.